Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight TV edition. I'm Peter, that is Timmy, and we of course talk about Tales from the Crypt every weekend. We're working our way through it. I've never seen it before. Tim's seen some of it, but we're slowly rediscovering all the episodes. And this is actually the first episode of season 2 of Tales from the Crypt, because we finished season 1 last week,
hmm
and here we are. This is
The the big premiere.
yeah, the big season 2 premiere. It's only been a week though, so it doesn't actually feel like much, but there we go. So this one's called Dead Right. So season 2 episode 1, Dead Right. It stars Demi Moore in the lead role. Also Jeffrey Tambor's in it. And a face that I actually recognise a couple of faces. The
The
guy
boss.
the guy who owns the bar. I know his
Oh, right,
face from
right.
something, but I can't tell you what it is. However, the one other guy that I recognised was the original boss that Demi Moore's character has, where she's a secretary. He is the therapist or the psychiatrist from the Terminator movies.
Oh, right.
So, no, so we're back to recognising a bunch of faces.
hmm
But Jeffrey Tambor, of course, in this one is actually in a fat suit. He is made up to look like he's huge.
And not just like big, but like also like kind of grotesque. Like he has
Yeah,
like a really like big nose and kind of like blotchy skin.
yeah. This one oddly feels like a weird mix of two of the season 1 episodes because Demi Moore's character is someone who's a gold digger and she wants to find someone rich because she's sick of being, well, poor, I guess.
Yeah.
But she's been very cynical about it. She doesn't care about love or anything like that. She just wants a rich person, which reminded me a little bit of
The
two
Leah
episodes.
Thompson one.
Yeah, the Leah Thompson one because she wanted to be beautiful
Mm.
and she wanted to find a rich husband, but also a little bit of the honeymoon one
Oh, right.
because
Yeah.
that guy was such a gold digger and he wanted the inheritance. Um, but she goes to a fortune teller, a psychic, to tell her what's going to happen, and she says that she will meet someone who's big, they will get married, but after a short while he will inherit a lot of money and he will die. So that's the gist of it, and of course she is disgusted by him, but she ends up agreeing to date him and marry him anyway in the hope of this money coming. But of
And
course, the big twist of the episode is that she actually wins a competition for $1 million. And we should also mention that it's set in like 1950, so $1 million is, I mean, it's a lot of money still, but it's a hell of a lot of money in 1950.
yeah.
And she decides to immediately break up with him, and he, Jeffrey Tambor, grabs a knife and kills her out of rage. So he inherits the money because he murders her, and then he gets the electric chair, which is how he dies, and
hmm
that's the plot of the episode. Timmy, did
Yeah.
you enjoy this episode?
Yeah, not as much as the other ones. Like out of the stuff we've watched so far, this would definitely be lower on the list. But it's still enjoyable. In that cheesy kind of way, it was a little funny, if not, creepy at times. I didn't
Well,
really mention.
it's worth mentioning that obviously we talk about how most of these episodes the main character is someone who
Mhm,
deserves whatever happens to them by the end, and she kind of
mhm.
does. She's kind of awful, but so is he. They're both awful people. Like he immediately
Yeah.
starts practically sexually harassing her for lack of a better term.
Well, so the thing is, like, she gets a job at a like a strip club. She's a
Mm,
waitress at a strip club, and he's like a regular there. And of course, the thing is that he's done up to look like this really big, fat, disgusting person, which is why she doesn't want to date him. But it's not like they made him sympathetic. Like it's not like, oh, beauty's on the inside. Like he's actually a great guy. It's like, no, he's also like a creepy guy. Like he's at this strip club and he's like immediately like, oh baby, what are you doing to me? And like touching her and being like, come on, you want this. Like,
yeah. By the way, I have learned some valuable tactics with picking up girls. Like
oh
seriously,
yeah,
as I learned in this episode, if you just grab a woman, like by the shoulders and be like, "Did you feel it? Did you
yeah,
feel the connection?"
yeah.
Like
You gotta make sure the woman thinks that, if you get together, you're gonna die soon and that you have a lot of money. But
yes, yes.
I think if all those factors come into play, it would help you out.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's hard to feel sorry for him. Like, yeah, I think maybe it could have been a little better if he was actually like a really nice guy, and instead of her kind of like, him pursuing her and her kind of being like, oh, right. Like, I think maybe it probably would have been better if, he didn't even ask her out, but instead she pursued him because she thought that like, oh, this is the guy that's, um,
Yeah, it's also, I mean, going back to him not being sympathetic, not only is he kind of like a creep, when they do get married, he like has her like making lots of food for him because obviously he's fat. He likes to eat lots of food, and at one point he's lying on the couch eating food, and he yells at her to stop vacuuming, and just says, "You missed the spot." Like he's totally been like the domineer. Well, not domineer's maybe not the word because he's such a big slob doesn't move, but he's like barking orders at her, and he's been an awful husband, and like like he's awful. Like he's almost worse than she is.
And it does like it's that very like stereotypical like Hollywood version of like someone being fat where it's like he always has to like have food, or like when they go to the movies he has two big tubs of popcorn like just for himself.
And then when they go and eat Chinese food, he says, "Do you know what I love Chinese? Do you know what I love about Chinese food? Except one thing. There's one thing I don't like about Chinese food." And she like cracks a joke at his expense. She's making fun of him for being fat and says, "Oh, you're always hungry again 20 minutes after." And he starts laughing and like slapping the table because he thinks it's hilarious. He's like, "How did you know I was going to say that?"
And then it's just like it's so over the top. But it was kind of like entertaining in its own way though, and I did like the scene where she's talking to her friend and she's kind of they're fantasizing like the different ways that he's gonna die.
Honestly, probably the best scene of the episode because they're having lunch, and her friend is like trying to talk her into just marrying him because she thinks the fortune teller's right, and they start discussing how he's going to die, and we see him get hit by a car, and it's hilarious because it's obviously like a dummy. Right, but it's really funny because he's holding like food, because of course, and the food goes flying everywhere. And then he says, "No, not a car, a big truck." And then we see it again, but with a big truck like hitting him, and it's just really comical and silly, but it was good fun.
And some friend, by the way, like she doesn't say like, "No, you should hold out for someone you love and like be happy with what you got." Instead, she's like, "No, yeah, go for the money, marry that slob," and like, it's like, oh, like, thanks a lot.
Dear. Yeah, there was also a really random dancing sequence where it's it's just after they get married, and is it just after they have sex for the first time? Is it during that scene, or is it before that?
I think it's kind of intercut with like when they are about to have sex.
Yeah, but it's when they're having sex because it pans away from the bed, and we see them like in formal wear like dancing, and it's like this weird trippy dream sequence almost.
Yeah. I feel like it was like I'm assuming they were trying to maybe do like like a reference or something to maybe like some type of Fred Astaire kind of old timey movie thing. It felt like
maybe, but I don't know. It felt kind of out of place. Like it didn't really fit with the rest of the episode.
It's weird. It seemed like they might have needed like a little bit of filler because it's a very like it's a very quick premise. Like it's like. She hears his fortune, sees this guy, and then, kind of boom, boom, boom. So it feels like they might have needed a little...
I almost wish that instead of adding a little bit of filler, they just cut back to the Crypt Keeper, and the Crypt Keeper can crack a couple of jokes.
I'd be okay with that.
Just talk about in the middle, like how things are going, or whatever, I don't know, for 30 seconds. Like
I'm always fine with more Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, but... No, I thought it was an okay episode. It had some fun stuff. It was fun seeing all the cast members popping up that I recognised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but... I always liked Jeffrey Tambor, and it was odd seeing him like in this kind of role, but I thought he did good for what the character was.
Yeah, and when he kills her, he's like screaming like at the top of his lungs, like "No one can have you, no one."
Yeah, that's some good stabbing. Like as far as stabbings go,
he went straight for the boobs. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah. I was aware.
I just thought that was another place to target immediately, but okay.
Yeah. And going back to the Crypt Keeper real quick, I did think he had actually had maybe one of his best jokes at the beginning. When he was saying something like you're got like I see something like gross and ugly or blah 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 something like that, and then he's like it's me, which I was like, oh, that's a pretty good joke.
That was all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun episode, not the best, but yeah, certainly things to enjoy there. So that's us on to season 2. We do this every Sunday. We put a new episode of this up. We are working our way through Tales of the Crypt, and of course, me and Timmy over on the Mailed Fuzz Movies channel, we talk about horror movies, and we're doing a lot of extra episodes during October for celebrating Halloween. A lot of Halloween sequels will be getting reviewed, and they'll lead up to Halloween on the week of it itself. But check that stuff out if you want to. And but yeah, let us know what you thought of this episode of Tales from the Crypt in the comments. Thanks very much for watching. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. We'll see you next time.